Hey you all, welcome to Pearls of Eden. I am in the process of harvesting my wheatgrass. As you see, it's been ready honestly for a few days. It only takes about 8 days to grow wheatgrass from the seed to what you see, but life has been busy and I want to go ahead and harvest it before it gets out of control. I want to show you the sprout seeds. These are my seeds right here, and as you see, they're almost ready to be planted. And you know they're ready to be placed in soil when you see the little white tails begin to show up. That lets you know that they are sprouting and ready to be put into soil so that you can begin the process of growing wheatgrass. Very simple to do it yourself, and it's very economical opposed to buying it at the store. You get a little bit of patch of wheatgrass, it's like $4, and a little bit of juice. This is the way to go. Okay, do it yourself, and plus you know what you're getting. So let's begin harvesting our wheatgrass. Now, as I'm gathering the wheatgrass, I'm going to let you all hear a phenomenal sermon called The Rarest Woman in the World. Enjoy.
And less anxious about fitting in. Her actions are less about proving something and more about fulfilling her own curiosity and passion. She feels lighter, unburdened by the need to live up to others' expectations, and this liberation brings an incredible clarity. She begins to understand that true freedom lies in being able to follow her own path, however unconventional it may be, without the burden of others' judgments. This freedom from external validation also opens doors to exploring her identity in ways she hadn't considered before. Without the limitations of others' opinions, she might try things that were once out of her comfort zone, things she thought she couldn't do because of the silent opinions of her friends or society. She takes risks not to impress anyone, but to see what she's capable of. Her failures don't feel like public downfalls, but private lessons. She embraces her mistakes as part of her journey, free from embarrassment or shame. This sense of experimentation allows her to know herself better, to trust in her ability to navigate life on her own terms. Ultimately, this journey in solitude teaches her that she is enough as she is without the need for someone else to validate her existence or her choices. She comes to cherish her own company and becomes her own best ally. This strength, this independence is profound because it is entirely self-created. And as she steps further into this space of self-reliance, she finds that what others think, though still present in the background, no longer dictates the course of her life. As a woman discovers peace in her own solitude, she begins to redefine what friendship truly means. Without the urgency to fill her life with people out of a need to escape loneliness, she approaches connection differently, without dependency, expectation, or a void to fill. Instead, she becomes open to relationships that arise naturally, rooted in shared understanding rather than necessity. This shift creates a space where friendship is not about completing each other, but about simply walking together, enjoying each other's presence without the pressure to fulfill roles. Her connection with herself gives her an inner abundance, an overflow of acceptance and self-assurance that shapes her relationships with others. When friendships emerge from abundance rather than need, they take on a rare, genuine quality. She no longer seeks friends as a remedy for loneliness or as a mirror for her self-worth. She feels fulfilled by her own presence and therefore approaches friendships from a place of contentment rather than dependency. This self-reliance allows her to give without expecting anything in return, to appreciate people for who they are, not for what they can provide. Her friends are not there to validate her, distract her, or define her. They are companions who enrich her life by simply being themselves. Without the fear of abandonment or rejection, she feels free to be her authentic self. And this openness creates a deep and lasting bond. Such friendships are marked by mutual respect and trust. She has learned to trust herself in solitude, so she naturally extends this trust to others. She doesn't feel the need to possess or control her friends because she does not depend on them to feel whole. Each person in her life is valued as an individual with their own path, not as a means to satisfy her emotional needs. This respect for others' independence is rare in friendships that arise from a place of scarcity, where people may cling to each other out of fear of loneliness. Instead, she is able to release her friends to be who they are, to follow their own dreams and paths without feeling threatened by their choices. Her ability to let others be, without pressure or expectation, invites a level of honesty in her relationships that she might not have experienced before. Since she isn't hiding any part of herself or tailoring her behavior to fit in, her friends feel comfortable doing the same. There's no need for pretense, no silent conditions that they must meet to stay in her life. This honesty creates a foundation where they can support each other fully, without judgment or comparison. She no longer feels the need to compete, as her self-worth is independent of others' achievements. In this way, her friendships are free from envy and filled with genuine joy for each other's successes. As she cultivates these friendships from a place of inner abundance, she also finds that she attracts people who resonate with her authentic self. These friends are not just passing acquaintances or companions of convenience, they are people with whom she shares a deep, unspoken understanding. She might meet someone who shares her love for solitude and self-discovery, or someone who understands the beauty of life's quieter moments. These connections feel effortless and natural, because they are based on shared values rather than a desire to fulfill any societal expectation of friendship. When she gives from a place of abundance, her friendships also become spaces of generosity. She's no longer giving just to get something back, to earn approval, or to maintain social standing. Instead, her kindness is rooted in genuine care, and her support is freely offered. This lack of transactional motive makes her friendships resilient. They are not swayed by misunderstandings or small disappointments, as each person knows the other's care is sincere. She is present in her friends, lives in a way that feels light and joyful, without the weight of unspoken obligations or hidden expectations. There's a beauty to the way these friendships develop organically. She no longer forces relationships into existence, nor does she cling to those that are fading naturally. She understands that people flow in and out of each other's lives, much like the ebb and flow of the seasons. Rather than fearing this natural cycle, she embraces it, allowing her friends the freedom to grow and change, just as she has done on her own. When someone drifts away, she feels gratitude for the time shared rather than grief for what is lost. Her sense of abundance reassures her that her worth is intact, and she feels whole, with or without any specific person. Friendships built on abundance are also immune to the fear of losing each other. This woman knows that true friendship is not about constant closeness or the obligation to stay in touch at all times. She may not speak to her friends every day or even every month, but when they reconnect, the bond remains as strong as ever. These friendships do not demand constant reinforcement. They thrive on the quiet understanding that each person is there for the other. Even in silence, distance or time does not weaken the connection, because it is rooted in a mutual recognition of each other's inner strength. Perhaps the most profound transformation is that her friendships now reflect her own journey of self-acceptance. As she has come to love herself fully, she finds it easier to accept others, flaws and all. She no longer judges her friends for their mistakes, nor does she feel the need to correct them. Her friendship is a gentle reminder that each person's path is unique, and she respects the learning process of those she cares about. Her friends, in turn, feel free to be vulnerable, knowing they will not be judged or abandoned. In her friendships, there is a sense of spaciousness, of ease. She does not fear losing these connections because she knows they are based on something deeper than shared interests or convenience. The abundance within her allows her to hold these friendships lightly, knowing that they are grounded in mutual respect, trust, and love. And as she continues to grow, her friendships grow with her, each one a reflection of her inner peace and independence.
Sometimes in life a woman must stand alone, not because she wants to, but because her path requires a different strength. A strength rooted not in crowds, but in silence. Society often pushes us to seek validation through friendships and popularity, convincing us that we need others to prove our worth. But a woman who walks alone finds her worth from within and from God. not from the opinions or support of others. In Psalm 46:5 we read, "God is within her, she will not fall. God will help her at break of day." This verse reminds us that real strength is found in God's presence. When He is within her, she can stand firm, even when others fall away. Today we'll explore the powerful qualities of a woman who walks alone. But before we continue, please give this video a thumbs up so we can keep sharing these messages. Let us dive in. There's a unique strength in walking alone, especially for a woman. Independence and self-sufficiency aren't qualities that just appear. They're forged over time, through experiences, trials, and often solitude. A woman who chooses to stand on her own feet without needing the approval of others isn't just surviving, she's thriving. Her strength comes not from those around her, but from within. Our society tends to glorify companionship and togetherness, as though having people constantly by your side is what determines your worth. But a woman who walks alone has discovered that true power lies in self-reliance. She doesn't need a crowd or a tribe to define her purpose or give her direction. Instead, she learns to lean on God, knowing that He alone can supply the strength she needs. This self-sufficiency isn't about rejecting relationships. It's about understanding that relationships don't define her. She knows that she doesn't need friends or validation to know her worth, because her worth is something that is defined by God. Psalm 46:5 tells us, "God is within hers, she will not fall. God will help her at break of day." In this verse we see the essence of her strength. She doesn't rely on what people can give her. She relies on what God has already placed within her. When she faces challenges, she doesn't run to others for answers or support. She looks within, trusting her instincts, her resilience, and her experience. She has built this strength over time, and it has set her apart. She doesn't fall apart when people leave her, or when circumstances become difficult. Instead, she taps into a deep well of resilience. She understands that the only person she can truly count on, besides God, is herself, and that knowledge gives her unbreakable confidence. This kind of resilience isn't just about enduring, it's about thriving. She has learned to navigate life without constantly needing the affirmation or approval of others. She makes her own decisions, shapes her life, and stands strong in her beliefs, values, and vision. Walking alone requires courage, but it also grants her freedom. It's easy to follow the crowd, to be swept up in what everyone else is doing. But a woman who is self-sufficient is more interested in what's right for her than what's easy. She has the self-awareness and confidence to make choices that align with her true self, even if those choices take her down a solitary path. Through this independence, she finds a new kind of strength, a strength that isn't shaken by the absence of people. Her inner strength grows in her solitude, a power that doesn't waver, no matter who comes or goes. For a woman like this, solitude is not an empty space. It's a source of empowerment. It allows her to focus on herself, on her purpose, and on her walk with God. Write in the comments, "I walk with God," to declare that He is your firm foundation. Think of Ruth, who stood alone after her husband died, and chose to leave her homeland to stay by Naomi's side. Ruth walked a path of solitude and uncertainty, yet her strength was unwavering because it was rooted in her loyalty, her determination, and her trust in God. In the same way, a woman who values her independence knows that walking alone doesn't make her weak. It makes her strong, self-reliant, and filled with a sense of purpose that doesn't need validation. When God is within her, she knows she will not fall because her strength comes from Him. In solitude, she has space to reflect, to grow, and to listen to God's voice. And in that quiet, she realizes that her worth and strength are gifts that only He can give. In a world that's constantly measuring us by the people around us, a woman who walks alone has learned something rare and powerful. She knows her worth. Her value isn't defined by how many friends she has, how popular she is, or how many people seek her out. Her worth is something she has discovered deep within, and it doesn't waver based on anyone else's opinion or approval. Society often tells us that we need others to validate us, to make us feel important. But a woman who understands her worth knows that no person can determine her value. She's found that her worth is a reflection of her relationship with God, of who He says she is. In 1 Peter 2:9, we're reminded, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession." This verse is her foundation, reminding her that she is precious in God's eyes. No one else's opinion matters when she knows that she's chosen, valued, and loved by her Creator. This understanding of self-worth frees her from the pressure to conform or to please others just for the sake of acceptance. She isn't looking for validation in the eyes of people who don't truly see her. Instead, she's learned to define herself by her own values, her faith, and her unique purpose. This kind of confidence allows her to live authentically, without feeling the need to prove herself to anyone. For a woman who knows her worth, relationships are not about filling a void or proving her value. She values quality over quantity, knowing that true friendship is rare and takes time. She's patient, waiting for connections that are meaningful, supportive, and uplifting. She would rather walk alone than surround herself with people who don't align with her values. A woman who knows her worth doesn't fear solitude because her worth is not based on how many people are around her. She understands that her identity is rooted in God's love, not in social approval. This mindset gives her a deep inner peace. She isn't rushing into relationships or clinging to people out of insecurity. She has the wisdom to recognize when a relationship is no longer healthy or supportive, and she's unafraid to walk away. She doesn't fear letting go because she knows that her value remains intact, no matter who stays or goes. Her worth is unshakable, grounded in her identity as God's beloved. In valuing herself, she sets healthy boundaries. She isn't willing to compromise her peace or integrity just to fit in or be accepted. She knows her worth, and so she's selective about who has access to her life. Her self-worth acts as a filter, allowing her to choose relationships that uplift her and bring out her best. She doesn't chase popularity or the appearance of having a large circle. She seeks depth, truth, and authenticity. A woman who knows her worth also has a unique strength to stand firm in her values. She isn't easily swayed by others' opinions or by the pressure to conform. Her self-respect gives her the courage to say no when necessary and to hold true to her convictions. She knows that pleasing people isn't her purpose. Pleasing God is. Her goal isn't to blend in, but to live out her calling in a way that honors who she is and the path God has laid before her. Think about the story of Queen Esther. She risked her life to stand before the king, not for her own gain, but for a purpose far greater than herself. She knew her worth didn't come from her title as queen, or the approval of those around her. Her worth was found in her God-given purpose, and that knowledge gave her the strength to act with courage, even when the stakes were high. In the same way, a woman who knows her worth doesn't settle for less than what aligns with her values and calling. She's willing to walk a lonely path if that's what it takes to.
So this is it. I've got my wheatgrass juice. I take an ounce a day. You can dilute this with water because yes, it's very strong. And especially in the beginning, you have to get used to the taste of it. Oops. And your body also needs to get used to it because it's very potent. It's very strong. It will cleanse you out, okay? So I have about 1 ounce here. And then I'll fill that with water and I'll take a shot of it. Now remember all the benefits that you get when you take this wheatgrass shot. It's not for the taste. It's not bad, but I've tasted a lot of things worse than wheatgrass, like spirulina. So it's not bad, but on a scale to 1 to 10 of nastiness, it's probably about a 6. Okay, so pinch your nose, do whatever you got to do, have something to wash it down right away, and go for it. You just got to do it, right? When you start feeling the benefits of taking wheatgrass, you're going to see it in your skin. It is going to produce a glow that no skincare can give you. Yes, great skincare is where you need to invest money in. I believe in a good skincare, but there is nothing that is going to outwork your diet. There is nothing that's going to outwork just getting those healthy vitamin A's and vitamin K's that make your skin so glowy and so dewy, where you're glowing literally from the inside out. So if you want that, you got to start drinking wheatgrass, and you got to do it regularly, because remember, it's consistency that wins the race. If you do it for a week and then you give up, and then you're never going to get the benefits. Consistency always wins the race. That's how you get to the results. So thank you for joining me. I hope that you all enjoyed the C.S.L. Lewis. I have been just really meditating and marinating in those words. He was such a wise, and I like to say he is, because we know we live on in the spirit realm. He is such a general in the spirit world when it comes to teaching and the wisdom and the revelation that man carries. Amazing. Well, all right, guys, I love you to life, and I'll see you soon.